Hello, this is the next video in what I'm going to call my Science and Social Responsibility series. It's mainly aimed at younger people going into the field of science. I did one on nuclear energy. I've done a few of them now. So if you're a high school student or a young person in science, or maybe you're an adult in science and you're sneaking into your office and watching this, the crazy guy go on and on. This is for you. Mainly the focus here is on evolutionary biology and maybe people in the field of genetics and what I believe your social responsibility is at this time. As I'm speaking now, the Republicans are taking what I would consider a very hypocritical stand, and that is, oh, by the way, the thing that we can call the series is WWED. What would Einstein do? That Einstein took a stand against McCarthyism that might actually have saved democracy and republicanism in this country, but that's perhaps for another video. How Einstein saved America. But anyhow, getting back to my stream of consciousness here, the Republicans who claim that they oppose abortion, right? I mean, they're going to claim that they oppose abortion, although even though it was Republican judges who implemented Roe v. Wade. That's something you can research. They're going to claim that they're pro-life, but if you look at the policies that the top elites want to impose on society, you're going to, leaving the abortion issue aside, you're going to have probably more abortions, not less, just because they tend to go up when people at the bottom are enmeshed in poverty. And as I look at the revival of ultra-conservative politics, all the pro-life ideas aside, what I see in the culture now is a revival of what we could call social Darwinism or eugenicism, really across the spectrum. I'm not just seeing it on the far right, which definitely you see a revival of the racist, anti-Semitic far right, particularly in response to Barack Obama as president. But you also see on other ends of the spectrum similar ideas are just masked. And I'm particularly seeing in the field of evolutionary biology and genetics a revival of biological determinism. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the humanities, the idea that there's poverty in the world because certain people are inferior genetically, that idea took a back seat. Now you have an emphasis on culture, on reasons for society's ills other than biological determinism. But the older view, the view of the early 20th century and the late 19th century has come back. And it's come back into fashion. And to me, this is frightening. And to me, you have a responsibility to speak out against it. You have a responsibility not to go along with it. You have a moral responsibility. We're not talking right and left here. We're not talking, it's not a conservative liberal issue. Most of you obviously are probably liberal. Okay, so I'm appealing to you as liberals. If you're conservative and you claim you're pro-life, then yeah, I mean, you would also be against eugenics, particularly the Catholic Church tends to take stands against it. But I mean, if you're the other opponents of it were the left. I mean, the socialists, they were against the eugenics laws in this country too. So you have a strange alliance there. I think both sides need to get together and take a united front, a common stand. That's my opinion on it. But I'm mainly appealing to scientists who are going to tend to be liberal and tend to maybe agree with a lot of the political stands that I would take here. But you also need to check your own heart. It's easy to see that the conservative right is hypocritical, that they claim they're pro-life, but they have all these economic policies that penalize poor mothers and make it so that they really have very few choices. It's easy to see that, but I'm asking you to look at yourself now. I mean, are you failing to speak out against the revival of biological determinism, the revival of Malthusianism? Are you failing to speak out in favor of, a complex view of humanity? I mean, look, if humanity is a biologically determined machine based on selfish genes, then where did freedom, justice, equality, social solidarity, where did these things come from? In either humans or the higher animals like dolphins. I mean, either any species that has them that would be a complex social species. Where did it come from? If we're simply biologically determined machines. So, I don't want to get into religion and science is what the reactionaries want us to get into because they control both sides of that dialectic. That's not where I'm going, okay? Wise people avoid falling into that trap. The real question here is if it's the powerful and the powerless, which side are you on? Okay, because that brings the message close to home here. What would Einstein do? Well, Einstein would speak out in favor of the powerless. Okay, Einstein would speak out in favor of the best of the worldview of the Enlightenment, not the worst. And again, this isn't a right-left issue. It isn't a religious secular issue because I'm talking about on the secular side. You have some problems here, especially when what used to be the right has moved further right, and what used to be the left has moved right. So I mean, in a strange sense, the whole spectrum now is, how do we give elites more power? How do we give them more money, more wealth at the expense of the common people? And now we have people calling for an outright return to eugenics, an outright return to biological determinism. What are you going to do to stand against it? Okay, you who are going into the field. I notice among the so-called Tea Party people, okay, the people who are the extreme conservatives who whatever the issue is, a black president or whatever it is, I noticed that they claim that they're upholding the original patriots of this country. And I know there's some guy on the web, going around like he's Tom Paine. Well, I would encourage him to read Agrarian Justice, to actually read the real thought of Tom Paine when it came to economic matters. Tom Paine was a social democrat. Tom Paine was a democratic socialist of some kind, not an extremist about it. He believed in private markets, but he didn't believe in what a lot of the Ayn Randers believe, which is unfettered private markets. That wouldn't have been in his worldview. He believed in some degree of wealth redistribution. And yet the people who, claim to be followers of his in some sense don't. And so the political spectrum has shifted. We now have a system whereby it's acceptable to bail out private bankers, but not people who are unemployed. We have a system whereby it's acceptable to... we have a society. It's not just the system, it's you, society, who have failed to take the most elementary moral stand unless it suits you in some way. So I say shame on you for failing to speak out. Now, as it is, we now have a revival of those who want to talk about whites being superior to blacks. I mean, they're just saying this outright. I see these idiots on the internet, on blogs, they're posting racist comments. And, you can agree with Barack Obama. You can, there's certainly things he's done I've disagreed with. For instance, Bush did the bailout, but President Obama continued it. The war in Libya. I mean, there have been things that he's done that I haven't agreed with. However, what we now have is, across the spectrum, a revival of some very evil, barbaric ideas. We have, torture. We have the revival of you know what it is. Okay, you've been paying attention to the news in the past 10 years. So the bottom line, what I'm going to say to you who are in the field of evolutionary genetics and evolutionary biology is you're going to have to stop going after the creationists, okay? The creationists, you may think you're saving science education in this country, you're not. Yeah, okay, defend your position as to how life arose, but the most important thing that the great scientists of the past would do is take a moral stand. I agree with you in standing up to the global warming deniers. Okay, you're right. But you're also going to need to stand up to the biological determinists too, in very, very forceful terms. Thank you.